What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday from the NXT ERA Trading Team. We are looking at the S&P 500 as a whole and the QQQ as a tech sector, and I also want to pay attention to a couple earnings plays that I've been paying attention to as well. So let's kick it off with the S&P 500. Let's start out by talking about the weekly chart. The weekly chart is something that is very important, and I would say that this most recent downtrend has just broken out, and there's been a massive bullish move from last week, right? We had that 8-week, 9-week of completely red, so much blood, and then we had that drop down right here for a nice little bear flag continuation to tap that 361 low. Now we're kind of breaking out of that initial one. But from all-time highs at 480, we still have a little bit more room to go to the upside to around that 420 level before we could potentially see a rejection level back down. So if it breaks out of this downtrend, then it looks like the market's starting to be bullish, but there's only a couple things that are showing why the market is bullish, and that is because of the strong labor market. The FOMC has continually raised rates, so the demand is offsetting, and we're starting to see inflation peak out just a little bit here, but we don't see CPI numbers, and we don't see the FOMC again until September, so we have a little bit of time to be a little bit more bullish. There's a lot of things that are pointing to a recession, so the GDP has been negative for the last 2 quarters, which is technically the definition of a recession, but with the strong labor market right now, the Federal Reserve and all these politicians are telling us that it's not actually officially a recession. It's just showing that it's slowing growth because growth was so high in the last few years/quarters. So there's a lot to pay attention to. You don't really know who to trust anymore, so let's just peek at the price action. So this little downtrend that we have right here that we broke out of, we had a massive rip from the weekly, and like I said, this another rejection at this 420 level. I personally think on the daily chart, a lot of people are calling for a nice little pullback early on in the week, which is very, very possible. So just be careful on Monday and Tuesday-ish area. We could see a pullback to like this 410, 480 mark, 410, 408, I mean. But then I see a lot of room up from this 6.2 mark. I see a nice little gap up to 418. So not exactly that 420. I'm looking at this 200 EMA right here. So if I delete this blue line, this green level is a 200 EMA. And it likes to bounce off that and at least test that. So if we can get up to this 418 level, if we break 413 highs from Friday, maybe a little bit of a pullback at first and then a rip up to that 418, we still see a lot of momentum to the upside here. It looks like buyers are taking control. Little bear market rally squeeze, in my opinion, but that 420 level is very, very significant on top of this 418. So I still think that there's a little bit of room to go. Might be a little choppy early on in the week now that we have no big data this week, other than non-farm payroll and unemployment data on Thursday and Friday. So pay attention to Thursday and Friday pretty heavily to see updates on the labor market. And then let's talk about the QQQ. Everybody knows that I love the TQQQ, and I've been buying a shit ton of shares at 24 a share, and then there's 23. I also have a scale in. It got as low as 21.88, I believe. So there was a lot of opportunity there, and now the TQQQ is sitting at 33, and I still think it has much, much more room to go, and I will be holding for an extended amount of time. So this is the QQQ. It has a similar story here. I think there's a resistance point at 318 from back in February 2022 and March 14th. So we have some room. The tech has been so beat up this year that it just was almost bound to happen to have a nice little rally, and then this downtrend is from the weekly chart as well. We could see a nice little 320 rejection, maybe even 327 if this EMA gets tested. So nice little squeeze happening right now. I don't see a ton of bearish movement right now unless we see the labor market starting to slow. But those estimates will come out on Friday, so pay attention huge on Friday for those. And then the only things that I really want to pay attention to is AMD has earnings this week. AMD has been exploding. I think that if it gets above this 95, we could see 98, potentially 100 if it doesn't reject. On top of that, for a sympathy play, I love NVIDIA to break this 180, run up to 190 because there's a nice little gap on there. So keeping track of all the semiconductors. Soxel is also a part of that. This is the triple leverage ETF that I was calling out. I didn't really post about it because everybody hates on me for the TQQQ, so I'm not going to just continually call out this. But I got these around 11 a share, and it's already at 19, almost $20 already. So if AMD crushes it, NVIDIA follows, Soxel is obviously going to rip, and it's up almost 100% already on just shares in a few short weeks. So people are loving this one. I'm still pretty long and bullish on ETFs, triple leverage wise, until I see a lot more recovery. So that's why I'm playing them, so I can make my money back a lot faster from my long-term equities holding. So trading has been great, but obviously the market's been pretty brutal for those long-term investors in some of these blue chip stocks. So I'm trying to regain some and make a ton more off these triple leverage opportunities. So Pay attention to those, and if you like them, do a little bit of research. The only other thing that I wanted to call out this week is Melly. Melly's a Latin American e-commerce company that is kind of lagging behind everything else, because if we look at Amazon really quickly, they had a massive gap up from this 101 test all the way up to 138, so that was about 38% from its lows. It's been running since its stock split, and Melly is also a Latin American e-commerce company, and it seems as though they are lagging behind. So it could break above this 900. I'm looking at this EMA around 1,000. I think that we could really squeeze if they have great numbers. This will be kind of a lotto play for me. Everybody knows I like to play some earnings plays every now and then, and it's pretty much a gamble. I won't lie, but I do my risk reward very, very high. So if there's a limited downside with a big amount of upside, then I will take that with a low implied volatility percentage. So low IV percentage here is 81%. Theta is pretty good. These report on Wednesday after earnings, and these $1,000 calls are about $300 a piece, while in the monies are $4,000 each. So talk about a risk reward, $200, $300 for a $4,000 potential per contract. Looks like that is something that I might be taking a dive into this week. So I got S&P 500 a little bit more bullish. QQQ, same thing. Might be a little choppy early on, but I still think we have some room up, especially with numbers not coming out till Friday, and we have a little bit of a breather from the FOMC until September. And then I'm loving the semiconductor industry, so look at NVIDIA, Soxel if you like some triple leverage and cheap stocks, on top of AMD reporting earnings. And then the only other thing is this Melly gamble that I'm looking at right now. So if these pop off, could be a great week. The S&P 500 and the market is booming lately, so let's see if we can keep on that trajectory and catch some of these great plays. I've been loving the SPX lately, trading instead of SPY, but to each their own. I like more risk. So yeah, that's that. So if there's anything else you need, hit the comments below. Hit me up with any questions, and let's make some money.